This video was sponsored by Gamefly. Hey, I'm Petey, the game playing, the pro gamer. Petey, the pro gamer. I'm a new character, you can tell by the hat. I'm such a pro gamer that I've played all my games like 100 times, and I'm going broke buying new games. Everyone says next-gen games are gonna cost like 70 bucks. And if I don't get any more games to be awesome at, I will die. What do I do? Wait a minute, what is that on the horizon? Gamefly? They've got a catalog of over 8,000 titles going all the way back to the PS2 era, with PS5 and Xbox Series X games coming with the new generation. They carry movies too. So with their 2-disc plan, I can always be renting one game and one movie at a time. And I can get 3 months of that 2-disc plan for only $9.95 a month by following the link in the description of this video. Say what? That's my catchphrase. I made it up. Well, take it from me, Petey the pro game playing guy, or whatever I said. Gamefly's the best way to play tons of games, including new releases on the cheap. So click that link down there in that description down there to try it out or learn more. Go video games! That's also my catchphrase. Please don't steal it. Open shut. Hello, my friends. I love you, and I love video games. I love talking about games. I love making videos about games that I like, and even if I don't like games, I love making videos critiquing them. I love the discourse around games. I love how everyone's got a different opinion. I love exploring all different perspectives. I really do. But I gotta be honest with you. Talking about Paper Mario has become a miserable affair. Don't get me wrong, I'll never stop discussing the series, just like no series is ever off the table entirely. And I'm still toiling away on the review and even enjoying the process of getting my opinions out of my head and onto the page to an extent. But the simple act of talking with other people about Paper Mario on the internet is no longer fun. And I'm not going to act like this is an isolated incident. Whenever you have a property that drifts away from what a large number of fans want, those fans tend to get angry. That's what happened with Pokemon last year, and it will continue happening wherever you get a large number of people disagreeing with each other about the direction a series is taking. The more people in on the argument, the nastier it will get. The funny thing is, though, it really matters how many people are on either side. With Color Splash, there were a good number of people who enjoyed the game, but the overall backlash, I feel, was a lot more one-sided. The majority of people were angry about the game. However, this time, so many people have been enjoying Origami King that now you've got a legion of people on both sides. You've got lots and lots of people both slamming the game and praising it, and those people are at each other's throats. I try to be as civil as I can when discussing Paper Mario, yet every single time I bring it up, it ends up being a bad experience. It's basically impossible to avoid a lot of very uncivil arguments breaking out whenever the words Paper Mario are so much as uttered. And it's really important to establish here that this is not a video where I do nothing but try to defend my opinions on Paper Mario. This isn't really a video about the games themselves at all. And it truly is both sides of the proverbial fence making the discourse so unpleasant. Neither side is smelling of roses right now. I am not going to generalize and say that everyone on either side is being problematic, because those kinds of generalizations are very much at the root of this issue, which is something we'll definitely discuss in a bit. Lots and lots of people are being very, very civil about all this. But this video isn't about them. It's about the people taking it all way too far. So I want to talk about this. I want to look at both sides and examine what's going wrong with Paper Mario discussions and why they've become such a minefield. Why do I want to? Well, because even when I don't love talking about games anymore, I still love making videos talking about how I don't love talking about them anymore. Because I love talking. I'm not sure if you noticed this about me. You're lucky you didn't grow up with me. My poor family. When Nintendo revealed Wind Waker, I didn't shut up for a week. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be referring to the two sides as critics and supporters. There are many different opinions within each group, but when you break it all down, that's generally how things are when it comes to these discussions. There are the people who are upset with the direction Paper Mario has taken, and there are the people who feel the direction is perfectly fine. You don't need me to tell you that I am very firmly a critic. When supporters have hit me with a lot of baseless accusations and I've challenged them on it, they've sometimes responded by accusing me of not holding other critics to the same civility standard, which is a very excellent example of this whole thing in itself. So, just to make sure there's no bias here, let's start with those critics. Twitter is pretty much the extent of my social media presence, so it's almost exclusively where I talk about games outside of my videos. And since Origami King was revealed, I have not been able to start or happen upon one single thread about the game without crazy big arguments breaking out. And one very big reason for this is the critics. They come in and they pick fights. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. It's one thing to reply to a tweet, state your own opinion, even have a little back and forth with someone who disagrees. But some people are so desperate to have their opinion heard that they look at it not as a conversation, but a battle. They attack anyone with a positive opinion about the game, arguing that they're simply wrong. They throw the concept of objectivity around a lot. These critics feel that the new games are objectively inferior, which, hey, that's not such a bad opinion in itself. I'm not gonna go deep into the idea of opinions and objectivity versus subjectivity and all that, but I'm a big supporter of trying to judge individual game design elements in more objective terms. But the problem is that they use this opinion as ammo, and anyone who doesn't agree with it is their enemy. Here's a thing that applies to basically all of the threads and comment sections on the internet about any subject anywhere. Every single individual opportunity to say words at a person should not be a platform for spilling out all your feelings on a subject. But that's the way these critics treat platforms like Twitter. Every single tweet about the game is an opportunity to dredge up the entire issue. Every single reply showing support of the game is an opportunity to start an argument. You'll see the same person replying to dozens of different tweets within a thread, each one arguing the same points. They refuse to consider that people should be able to have their own opinions, because they've latched onto the idea of objectivity so hard that they think these people who are objectively wrong in their eyes must somehow be stopped or convinced otherwise. And we saw this with the Pokemon thing. They feel that anyone supporting the game is supporting the practice of making bad games, thus in theory allowing Nintendo to keep on making bad games. They vilify supporters to such a degree that they feel like it's their job to keep on fighting, to call out every single supporter and tell them how wrong they are, to try their best to stop them. This is another thing that applies to a whole lot more than just Paper Mario. Are the people who buy a game supporting the direction the series has taken, sending a message to the company that says, "I like this, do more games like this"? Yeah. Despite everything, Pokemon Sword and Shield sold so well that there's almost no way the Pokemon Company will ever want to address the issues people have with the series. And when this Paper Mario goes on to be the highest selling entry in the series, that will tell Nintendo that what they're doing is working, and all of the controversy is just noise. No, I'm not happy about it. I don't like that they probably look at sales numbers and nothing else. I don't like that they put us in this all or nothing situation where if we want to enjoy the game at all, we have to essentially tell Nintendo, "Here's my $60. This is perfect. Never change." In this industry, nothing talks louder than money. But guess what? It's not my business what games people buy. It's not my job to tell people why they should or shouldn't buy a game. If someone enjoys a game, I can't tell them they're wrong for supporting it because of the impact it might have on future titles, which affects me in the long run. That's going way too deep. That's treating these silly little things like they're these grand moral issues. Supporting a game by a company that's abusive to its employees, you'll have a much stronger argument against something like that. I will listen to that argument, but this is nothing like that. It's a matter of taste. People are going to do what they want. They're going to buy the games that make them happy. It's not your duty to get on their case for it. Because trust me, if you decide that you're this warrior standing up for what is right on the internet, you will spend the rest of your life fighting. You will never stop finding people to attack for their opinions. And that will not end up being a very fulfilling life for you. I guarantee it. Also, these critics are, naturally, making Paper Mario discussions really, really unpleasant. They're turning real debates into shouting contests. I had to make a tweet threatening to block people if they kept doing it, because I desperately want to enjoy discussing the topic again. But it's next to impossible with all these arguments. And perhaps more seriously, these people are very poorly representing the fan base. Critics such as myself and many others who attempt to talk about Origami King in a civil manner are now frequently grouped in with all the critics. The loud, angry, obsessive, overly hostile critics are so prevalent that people have begun to write the entire fan base off as being the same as them. Thousand-year door fans is what we're all called now, a term which is now synonymous with being loud, angry, obsessive, and overly hostile. You thought you were helping the series you once loved, but if anything, you've caused countless people to shun the old games and embrace the new ones out of spite. Just because they were so sick of hearing it, so they turned around and vilified you right back. And thus is the circle of fan wars. And on the subject of supporters and generalizations, let's talk about, well, those things. You know what's not reasonable? Going to war at every opportunity for a series that you feel has been treated unfairly. You know what's also unreasonable? Seeing this behavior and thinking it represents more than a vocal minority. The idea of lumping an entire fan base into this stereotype is beyond ludicrous. You think these critics represent all Thousand-Year Door fans? Well, here's the thing. There are millions of those. Millions of people played that game, and probably millions more either tracked down the game later, emulated it, or dearly wish they could play it because it looks so good to them. And you are basing your opinion of all of them on these critics that are very, very loud, but also relatively small in numbers. Sometimes you'll see the same accounts harassing people again and again and again, and to let that color your perception of the overall fan base doesn't make any sense. I mean, one of the biggest messages that I try to communicate through my work is that everyone is different. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone deserves to pursue what makes them happy. Let's all just enjoy discussing our differences and allow them to enrich any given discourse. I've said it again and again and again. If you like Origami King and the other modern Paper Mario games, that's fine. And yet, in every single discussion, I end up getting treated like just another hater. Just another Thousand-Year Door fan screaming into the void. It doesn't matter how civil I try to be, people will always roll in with the same old belittling, dismissive comments. Not gonna lie, it's pretty frustrating, because like extreme critics, extreme supporters have vilified everyone who doesn't agree with them. They feel that the critics are being unreasonable and petty and entitled. The critics are annoying them at every turn. So now the critics are the ones who must be stopped. The critics are the enemies that must be fought. And that idea is no less unreasonable and petty than what the critics are doing. A lot of the frustration I feel about supporters is that they don't usually understand why critics feel the way they do. I might get flack for saying this, but I get this sense that all, if not most, extreme supporters fighting back really hard against critics haven't played the old Paper Mario games. And that's not a crime in itself. It's hard to get your hands on those old games. But it means they fundamentally do not understand where critics are coming from. So they fall back on the same arguments again and again and again. You're just nostalgia blind. You just hate things that are new. You just want every game to be exactly like Thousand-Year Door. I get variations on these constantly, and they are objectively false. It's not a matter of opinion, it's just not true. Statements like these come from a place of ignorance, and I'm not afraid to call it like it is. Anyone who's watched my videos on Color Splash knows that my issues with the game run deeper than it simply being new or different. I have issues with the game design, and that's something that people just don't consider a lot of the time. They don't think about the simple idea of how a game is designed and how a person might enjoy that design. They don't consider that some ideas are better than others. They don't consider how every idea, whether it's old or new, must be judged on its own merits. Being new doesn't make an idea good. If a new idea isn't as good as an old idea, wanting the old idea back isn't unreasonable. And so much hinges on that one concept, the idea that critics just can't accept when something is different. But it's absurd. The new games aren't just different. From the perspective of a lot of people who played the old games, they're worse. They simply have less of what we used to like about them. Some of the new elements don't feel as well thought out. These are very important distinctions that extreme supporters either ignore or simply don't understand. I doubt any extreme supporters are watching this right now because they tend to look at my titles and thumbnails and chalk it up to silly old nostalgia-blind Arlo complaining again and then insult me for it without even watching the videos themselves. But if any of them happen to be watching now, I just want to do a little thought experiment. Just bear with me for a minute here. Let's say you love Splatoon. You're a massive fan. Splatoon 2 is one of your favorite games of all time. One day, Nintendo releases a new Splatoon game with the following changes. You can no longer swim up surfaces. You no longer have special weapons. You no longer have sub-weapons. And in fact, different weapon types with different stats are just gone. Same with gear. It's just not a thing anymore. You have a standard splatter shot and a standard outfit that never change, and that's it forever. The lore has been permanently deleted. The world's backstory no longer exists. Now no other species exist except Inklings and Octolings. The plot of the single-player mode is simply that DJ Octavio stole something and you have to go after him. There are no other characters offering commentary and there's no hub world. It's all on a simple world map now. Every level is a single screen where you have to find a collectible before the time runs out. All multiplayer modes have been removed from the game and replaced with one where you have to do a sliding block puzzle in order to clear your path and reach the center of the map to ink it. Your opponent is doing the same, and whoever inks it first wins. You can technically shoot each other if you get there at the same time, but really, the shooting doesn't matter much anymore. It's more about the sliding block puzzle than anything. So you go online and express displeasure that Nintendo decided to abandon a winning formula that felt like it was crafted with fun in mind more than anything. People tell you to stop clinging to the past. You say that they removed everything that made the world interesting. People tell you it doesn't matter. You say the lack of different weapons and gear completely removes the strategic element of the game and simplifies it to a childlike degree. People say, oh, it's clearly a game for kids then, get over it. You say all of the fun gameplay has been thrown out in favor of this tedious block puzzle mechanic that goes against the core concept. People tell you that you just can't accept new ideas. You discover that the overwhelming majority of the Splatoon fanbase feels exactly as you do, and even the people who like the new Splatoon can agree that it was better the old way, and when you suggest that Nintendo maybe should consider listening to the fans in this case, people say you and the entire fanbase are toxic. Can you put yourself in that situation for a moment? Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? How intensely, agonizingly frustrating? Don't you just want to spend all day trying to convince those people they've got it all wrong, they don't fully grasp why you're upset? Because you can't. And no matter what you say, they'll never stop belittling and insulting you, and making absurd generalizations about what they now refer to as Splatoon 2 fans. Every single day, I get this. Every time Paper Mario comes up, there are people who don't follow me, they don't watch my videos, they don't listen to any of my arguments. They've formed an opinion of me based partially on what they can see at a glance, and partially on all these super loud critics out there attacking people under the Remaster 1000-Year Door banner, which they know that I started. So they roll by just long enough to call me a whiny, entitled, nostalgia-blind, crybaby fanboy, and move on with their day. Or, you know what? Sometimes they don't even move on. I've seen plenty of supporters who are almost as zealous as the extreme critics. They'll come around to my tweets again and again just to fight what they see as the good fight against myself and what they see as other wrong and unreasonable people. They'll do the same thing. They'll take any opportunity to call out a critic. Even when those critics are being civil. No, it's the same thing. It's the smugness and the name-calling and the you just don't like new things. And you know what? It ain't fun. I'm sure all the people who think I'm a broken record will love hearing this, but congratulations, you've actually discouraged me from talking about Paper Mario as much as I would like. I hesitate every time I'm about to tweet something, and I actually went back and forth on making this video for like a month. Congratulations, you're finally wearing me down. It's actually funny how much the supporters and the critics have in common, if you think about it. I mean, both sides are coming from an I'm right and you're wrong, the end standpoint. There are many elements of the situation that one side or the other are simply unwilling to consider. They're all taking a side, digging in their heels, and saying anyone on the other side is the enemy. They're making silly generalizations about each other based on the words and actions of a relative few. The 1000-Year Door fanbase is toxic because I'm annoyed that a few dozen of them keep spamming Nintendo's tweets. Origami King fans are all corporate shills for playing a game they enjoy. It's all nonsense. The toxicity thing bothers me in particular, actually. The topic of fanbase toxicity is too big for this video. But I'm of the opinion that no fanbase is truly toxic. The vocal minority do not represent the millions of civil fans out there. I'm not the ringleader of all the 1000-Year Door fans, and I gave them that hashtag so they could go out and use it to harass people like my little minions. We're talking about a tiny fraction of the fanbase here. And even apart from the subject of extreme critics, if you're just annoyed that you have to keep hearing people complain about Paper Mario, that's not because the fanbase is being toxic, it's just because this is a big, very heated issue. When a lot of people feel a way about a game, it's going to come up a lot. Same with Pokemon. No, the Pokemon fanbase is not toxic. It's just very big, and the new games made a lot of people very mad. And of course, this led to a lot of arguments and also nasty behavior from that vocal minority. It's just how these things go. Get enough people to disagree with each other, and there's gonna be some nastiness. I wish we could always stay civil. I don't like that this is to be expected, but it is. If anyone can truly be blamed, it's the companies making all these people mad. I'm not saying we should excuse the bad behavior of the vocal minority, but if you keep causing these massive wars within your fan bases, maybe you should look a little more closely at the decisions you're making. But hey, I guess that's also a much bigger discussion for another day. One trap that I see a lot of critics and supporters alike falling into, though, is the whole notion of real fans. I mean, they both do this equally, and it's so ridiculous. You're not a real fan if you like the new games. You're not a real fan unless you can accept all the games. Once more, I'm not going to go all the way into it, but the very idea that a person's actions can make them more or less of a fan of something, and that the title fan is one that must be upheld and protected, give me a break. Like, you just gotta stop. I'm not usually so quick to call people out on specifics because I don't like to make people feel bad. I really don't want anyone to feel legitimately bad for all this, but hey, calling out people is what I'm doing in this video, I guess, so I might as well go all the way and say, this is elementary schoolyard level pettiness. It's nonsense. Fan, who's a fan, who's not a fan, it means nothing. What makes a fan and who is or isn't based on which specific games they like from a series, it's so inconsequential. All it boils down to is more elitism and gatekeeping and all that fun stuff on whichever side you might be on. Don't get me wrong, I have publicly struggled with the idea on my own. Am I a Paper Mario fan if I like fewer than half of the games? I don't know, but at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter one single iota. It's basically just arguing semantics. I think there's one really solid example I can give for how unpleasant talking about Origami King has been, and it dates all the way back to the initial reveal. I did my reaction and discussion video, and I was surprised by what I saw in the trailer. Some of the stuff looked really promising, but I was also cautiously optimistic because other elements seemed either iffy or simply weren't present. I was open to the idea of the game being good, but I wasn't ready to instantly throw open my arms and embrace it. I needed to play it before I could know for sure. Some supporters told me I was being unfair by remaining skeptical. I was still clinging to the past and I should just be excited about the game. Listing my worries was seen as whining. Then, some critics told me I was being a Nintendo shill by even entertaining the idea that the game might be good. The trailer clearly showed that this was Sticker Star 3, and by not instantly denouncing the game, I was proving that I had fallen into Nintendo's pocket. All of this on the same video. Both sides watching my reaction and coming to very different accusations aimed at me. This was only my first Origami King related experience, and yet it set the stage for what was to come. It established just how yucky the Paper Mario discourse was about to get. Obviously, at the end of the day, none of this really matters too much. There are at least a couple more serious issues in the world we should be devoting our mental energy to. In the end, it's a Mario game, and it's people on the internet, and neither of those should be enough to get too upset over. But airing some of my grievances regarding this issue does make me feel a little better. Even if the video is just going to attract more of the same critics and supporters I've been talking about. But hey, that's inevitable, I guess. And nothing is going to compare to the storm that's going to hit me when the review drops. See you later.